Good morning, KOTA territory, and welcome to the KOTA Now desk. Welcome back to another DIY Friday Delights. I'm your host, Mimi Herrick, and this week we are joined by Chief Meteorologist David Stradling.
Happy to be here.
I'm so excited to have you on the show because you are teaching us something that I don't know anything about.
It's kind of fun. I mean, there are certain hobbies that I have, and not a lot of them are DIY, do-it-yourself kind of things, but I've gotten into fly tying recently with my dad coming out and visiting the Black Hills. We go fly fishing, and he's kind of taught me a few things. So I'm going to try to do a simple fly and teach you how to do it.
Yeah, we'll see if I can do this. I'm not the best at knots, but I can try.
It's fine. I'll try to walk you through everything as best as I can.
Okay, perfect. How do we get started here? What do we have?
All right, so basically we have kind of a wet fly hook. The wet fly hook is for when the flies sink underwater to kind of act like a bug or anything flying through the water. So we have our wet fly hook in a size 10. You can do them anywhere. Probably we're doing actually a San Juan worm. I should mention for what we're doing in terms of the fly we're going to tie. So we got a little bit of hooks tied up here. I'm going to take a couple of them out. So now we got that. You're going to take yours. I'll slide it over to you. So pick it up, and then in your vise, it's kind of an opening right here. You'll stick the bottom of the hook in, and then you'll pull the clip right here down, and that'll tighten it into place and hold it for you.
Did I do
so
that
keep
right?
pulling it all other way here. So pull it out real quick.
Okay.
You'll put the hook
Put the
like
pointy side
this
away from me.
down in there.
Oh,
and then
I
you can
see.
Close it right there and push it all the way till it's secure. There we go. So now step one, you've got your fly hook hanging out here in your vise. It's pretty snug in there, so you're not really going to rip it out unless you're pulling hard, and if you do that, you might break your string too.
Yeah.
So step one is to get yourself a hook. The next step, we're going to get this Ultra Chanel red, which kind of imitates a San Juan worm body. So I'm going to open this up. We're going to bring it out. Let's pull out some of the fiber here. Get a little bit here that stretches probably about twice the size of the hook. We'll take these scissors here, snip a piece off. We'll measure it up again. Measure it and snip it. So then we'll set this off to the side. So here is yours. If I can pick it up. Oops.
There it goes.
And then here's
I don't know
mine.
what texture I was expecting, but it was not this. It's kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fuzzy yarn kind of thing. So when you come into this aspect here, you're going to have it, I'll set it right in front of me real quick, but you have your yarn also here, and you take that. I'm going to bring mine in just a little bit, so you have maybe a few inches of it hanging out in front of you. That's fine right there.
Okay.
So basically what you're going to want to do is take your yarn and put it down along the hook, the back side of the yarn probably pinched up towards the back side of the hook there. So take your fingers right up to the back side, and then now then you'll wind it around the hook itself, and then just keep winding it for a while and kind of make like a little line. And then once you kind of wrap it up towards the hook eye, bring it back towards the back side of the hook. So then you'll bring it back, kind of overlapping some of the yarn you have on there, some of the string. And then once you get about halfway, you'll have kind of a little piece of string still kind of hanging on here. You'll take the scissors and you'll get close to it and snip the excess string off and just set it off to the side. So then you have your string right here. Probably, there you go. It's hanging up like that, and then just take the scissors, snip that off. And then once you're done snipping that off, just kind of wrap it tightly. Make sure it's kind of, oh, you lost it. It's okay. We'll try it again.
As I'm doing this here, David, I've always been so curious. What made you originally interested in doing the weather?
The weather, I've always grown up when I was younger. I grew up in northern Indiana, and we always had severe thunderstorms and winter storms, and so I'd always be obsessed with weather, kind of getting to go outside and enjoy the storms. And eventually we'd have tornado warnings, the sirens would go off and all of that back home in Indiana, and I'd run outside because obviously I wanted to see a tornado when I was younger. And I was thinking, oh, where's the tornado? Where's the tornado? So running around outside, my mom's yelling at me, David, get back inside. Don't go out there and all that kind of stuff. And so eventually yeah, this is kind of tricky here. So you'll want to kind of keep wrapping it around to the back side of the hook.
Like right towards the front, kind of how I'm doing it? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of towards this part back here, you'll want to wrap it kind of where the shaft of the hook starts to bend downward.
Okay.
Is where you'll take that thread to.
Okay. It's going to take me a while then.
No, that's fine. But yeah, so basically I was obsessed with weather when I was growing up as a kid, and eventually I found a local college about an hour or so away from my hometown, and we made it happen to where I went to school for meteorology. And back then there was a hiring freeze within the National Weather Service, and so a couple of the students that were studying weather there said, hey, if you want to get a job out of college, you're going to want to go into broadcast, TV meteorology, which is where I am now. So that's kind of how I ended up to where I am. So
what's your favorite part about doing this job?
Just doing what I love. I think it's fun to do what I love get paid to do what I love, I guess. I'm obsessed with weather. Honestly, couldn't pick a better spot between here or probably the Front Range of Colorado for the most active weather, because with fires, with drought, with heat, with rain, with snow, with storms, with everything basically. So we get everything, and it's very hard to stay bored here when it comes to the weather, because there's always something to talk about.
There is always something happening. We can see some weather happening behind us a little bit here. The fog is kind of creeping over the hills.
At the top of the screen there, you see the fog kind of creeping in there. It's kind of neat, and we have all that fog here in Rapid City right now. So
yeah, it is really, really interesting. And besides weather, you also just enjoy being outside. Obviously, we're doing this. As we do this next step, kind of walk me through that. But I also want to know, what was your coolest hiking trip you've ever been on?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I've been on a lot of really fun hiking trips. Put me on the spot with that one.
I know, sorry.
I'm not going to name one. I'm going to name a few.
Perfect.
And I'll get to that in a moment here. I'll think about it. So you'll take your little yarn here, and you'll line it up so it's kind of even the amount of yarn that's in front of the hook and behind the hook. And you'll kind of just hold it kind of steady over it. I'd use so when you're tying it, you're going to want to have this kind of turned this way. I should have noticed that at the beginning, so it's my fault. But you'll take the hand that's on the side of where your vise is, and you'll hold it to the back side of the hook. So kind of your left hand like that, and then take the thread and lightly go over the top of the yarn and go over it. Once you go over lightly once, kind of do a couple of wraps around it. So do about 3, maybe 4. So then you'll have it kind of held into place at the top here. And then you're going to take your yarn here, lift it up, and you're going to take your string under around your hook and kind of bring it back about 3/4 of the way to the front, maybe about 80%, I'd say. So you got that. You'll lift this up and bring your yarn back up about 80% of the way to the hook there.
Okay. Okay, maybe this isn't so bad now that I'm getting some practice.
There's that right there. So then you'll bring your yarn back down here, and then you'll take your string and lightly go back over it about 3 or 4 more times. And then you'll lift that front piece up. Once you're done 3 or 4 wraps, and then you'll take your yarn kind of to where the hook eye is. And then comes the fun part.
Oh, no. Oh, no. All right, David, we're waiting. What was the coolest place? What is one of the coolest places you've been? You can name a couple.
So a couple of my hikes, I love the Black Hills, but I went to the Wind River Range in Wyoming. I did a 3-day, 2-night backpacking trip there. And so just kind of it was about a 25-mile hike I got to go on, and I stepped it out about 8 miles a day. I'd find a camping spot 8 miles a day, and then 8 miles and drive back home. So being just in the middle of the mountains with no cell service, seeing a couple of thunderstorms, and hiking up a bunch of snow in some spots, kind of sinking to about my kneecap or a little bit higher. So that was kind of fun in some spots. But I think that was probably one of my favorite ones. There's one in Montana. I think it's called the Beaten Path. I did a solo backpacking trip there. Didn't get to go as long as I wanted. There was a lot of rain, and my tent got pretty wet for the second night, so I kind of turned around and headed out after that. But the first night when I was there, I camped out, and there was a really cool thunderstorm. And I was in kind of a canyon between these granite Rocky Mountain walls. And it was pitch black. I'd see a flash of lightning, and you'd hear the thunder, and it would just echo off the canyon for like 20 or 30 seconds.
That's so cool.
And so just being in nature and then also having the weather aspect of that made it really fun. And I've been out to Utah, I think is really cool. Bryce Canyon, I think, is underrated, just seeing all the hoodoos out there. So
yeah. All right. What is our next step? I'm
all right. So the next step is a whip finish. So you get to use this fun little tool right here. Oop, I was going to put it right back for the camera. This little tool here. And you are going to, I'll turn this a little bit more to be straight on with the camera. So you'll pull out your yarn a little bit farther, probably about maybe 6 or 8 inches. You'll take this tool here, and you have this little hook that you're going to put over your line. So you put it over that. You bring it in front of the other piece here that kind of has an indentation in it, and then you're going to wrap it around behind it. And so what you're going to do is lift and pull at the same time, and it's going to take your thread up to the hook. And so when you are wrapping it around here, you're going to be getting, it's called a whip finish. So when you do that about 2 or 3 times, having the excess yarn on this side here will allow you to then sink it down, and then you pull it all the way up and it slips right out, and that you tie yourself the knot. I'm going to grab the scissors here, and then once you tie the knot, you clip it off, and you're 90% of the way done with your San Juan worm. The thread's not going to be coming loose, and everything's not going to be coming loose on that. So now that we're done with this, I will try to walk you through what we're doing over here. So,
oh God.
hold it out, and you're going to bring this piece of line into that, and then you'll, yeah, my hand's not in a good spot, bring it on this side, other side here. You'll bring it around the front and the back, and then you'll bring this pretty much parallel with the portion of your fly tying thing here, and then you will take this down. Let's see here.
Uh-oh.
It's a weird angle.
Am I causing a problem?
Nope. I'll hold this back for you.
Okay.
So then you'll take this and you will just basically hold it.
Okay.
And then kind of just make it spin around the eye hook there.
Oh.
So you'll spin it a couple times.
If I can get the hang of the motion.
So that should be good there. And then you will kind of try to pull it down a little bit to where you want to pull, there we go. Pull this down a bit, yes. And then lift your wrist up, and then it'll slide out right there. And then you pull thread, and then you slide that piece out, and you just tied yourself a knot. So then
beautiful.
So then you'll snip off what's left over.
My worm doesn't want to be flat.
It's okay. We can get it to stay flat and be fixed here.
How much of a tail should I leave on this?
I'd take it all the way to the top there,
okay.
As close as you can get.
Beautiful.
So then we'll kind of work
help
this
him.
around.
Help him be flat.
We'll get there.
This is so interesting.
Yeah.
How did you get into fly fishing? Has this just been always something you're into, or?
My dad got me into it. We fly fished a couple of times back in Indiana, but when he'd come to visit out here with my mom, and he'd just see how clear the creeks were, you could see the trout swimming and stuff, and he's like, I gotta come out by myself sometimes, and we could just go fly fishing. My mom's not big into fly fishing, so he leaves her at home. She can hang out with some of her friends, and he gets to come out here for a 5-6 day weekend. We go out Rapid Creek, Spearfish Creek, up into the hills, and just go fly fishing and have a good time. And my first couple of times were a struggle. The casting and everything, it was a struggle. And the more you got out there, the more you get the hang of it. And I've been probably tying flies for 8 months now. I started back in early fall last year. And then when my dad came back to visit in October, the end of October, around Halloween and early November, I had tied a few of my own flies, so we went out to Rapid Creek, and it was really cool because I caught probably about a half dozen to a dozen trout on the flies that I tied myself.
That you did yourself. That's really cool. I mean, does it make it more affordable at all to do the fly fishing thing? In
a way, yes. If you're just starting out and you're trying to collect all the materials, it gets quite expensive trying to buy everything you need. But eventually, when you're just doing it yourself, it's cents to the dollar compared to when you're buying a fly from itself. But there's a lot of good local shops to go out to. Dakota Angler here in Rapid City. You have a new one in Spearfish. I don't fully know the name, but they just opened recently. But you have a couple of good local fly shops to talk to if you want to get into fly tying and get some of the materials you want to go to, or maybe even just buy a few flies and test it out. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's finish these up.
All right. So I'm going to take it off the hook now. I'm going to lift this part and take it out. So basically you have your San Juan worm. I'm going to take a lighter. I'm going to light it here. And then I'm going to barely put the tip of it on there. And then I'm going to do the same on the back side here. Just barely get the tip in. And then it kind of looks like a worm. Kind of, you know how they have like the dull little tops and the bottoms of the worm here. So kind of just burning the edge a little bit makes it look more like a worm itself.
Now this is something I kind of know how to do from sailing. We used to have to burn the ends of our lines.
Yeah.
To seal them off. Okay, I think I got it here. Woo. Okay. He looks like a worm.
And there you go. You have your San Juan worm. It's a pretty easy tie to fly, and I actually got the inspiration because I knew a few weeks ago Mimi was going to have me on DIY with her. So I was trying to think of an easy fly to tie. Some of them are easy. Some of them can be complex for a first-time tyer. And
yes.
I was actually down in Denver at the Outside Festival, and they had kind of a fly fishing booth set up for kind of the outdoorsy people that like to fly fish. And their instructor had a San Juan worm, made it super simple, and I give them a shout out for giving me the inspiration to bring this on here and kind of show this easy one for what we're doing.
I know. Well, thank you so much for bringing the DIY to me this time. I don't often get people who are willing to do that with me here. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much for joining us this week. This was a fabulous DIY Friday Delights. We'll see you right back here next week for more fun and another interesting guest.